Welcome back to the Bullwinkle Blueprint. Hope you're all having an incredible day. Make sure you're subscribed and following because the next few months in crypto, I'm telling you, they're going to be insane. Today's story, it's different. We're not talking hopium. We're talking filings, custodians, balance sheet pivots, and a level of XRP activity on chain that only shows up before something structural breaks open. If this lines up the way it looks, we are staring at the beginning of a brand new era in this market, and let's get straight into it. You see right here, this is the moment XRP holders have been screaming about for years, and it's arriving with almost zero mainstream attention. Here's what this actually means. I'll blow it up for you. When an S1 is filed and approves, it means the SEC has officially greenlit the product. No guessing, no rumors, it's a done deal. And 21 Shares, they're not some niche company. They are one of the biggest ETF issuers in the world with global distribution. The key phase here to remember, OTC books to shrink even more, folks. That's right, your supply shortage. Institutions, they're not going to be sourcing their XRP through shady offshore desk anymore. They're going to be going through a regulated US listed ETF, which reroutes your liquidity, which reduces your supply and circulation and drives direct demand pressure onto the underlying asset. This is the first domino in a much larger structure. And here's the part that everyone misses. ETF issuers don't just randomly wake up and pick an asset. They create products because their institutional clients are literally requesting them. We're talking family offices, private banks, pension funds. These aren't degen traders looking for a 10x overnight. They move billions slowly, strategically, and only into assets with long-term viability. If those players are knocking on 21 Shares' door asking for an XRP product, that tells you everything. They're expecting settlement adoption. They're expecting institutional rails. They are expecting liquidity pipelines to expand, not contract. The ETF isn't the end, folks. It is the onboarding ramp. We're going to listen to this clip from 21 Shares explaining exactly what we just talked about, how the family offices, the private banks, the asset managers, and even your pension funds want exposure into XRP. Listen to this clip.
Investors to get more exposure, and I think that could swap over to the US as well sooner or later.
When I introduced you earlier in the discussion, the interview, I had mentioned that 21 Shares packages ETFs and creates ETFs for Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I said that one of the reasons that people could look into these products is because they are not able to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum in whatever jurisdiction that they operate in, and perhaps given investor constraints. Is that one of the reasons? In other words, broadly speaking, why should somebody, and I'll let you answer who that somebody may be, why should somebody look into an ETH Bitcoin ETF product?
Versus a direct exposure?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of benefits to that. I mean, usually to the clients we speak, family offices, private banks, independent asset managers, and now also pension funds. They don't want to deal with the technical hurdle. They don't want to set up a wallet. They don't really want to worry about the custody in the back end. And they also don't want to have a separate account to manage their portfolio. That's why an ETF is just a very convenient solution to get exposure. And usually banks around, especially Europe, but around the world, they love to work with us because it's an easy plug and play and offering for the end clients. The good thing is they don't have to worry about anything else, just like any other product and ETF out there. They simply buy it and get exposure. That's it. Which doesn't mean one is better than the other, but we think it's just a choice. Over the years, we're already seeing a lot of investors going into crypto for the last 5 to 7 years. So when it comes to kind of like the educational component or just the knowledge that the investors have, Europe might have had an advantage or a head start, but we clearly see how the US is catching up. When it comes to the inflows, of course, the US is a different beast. The US is the biggest capital market in the world. So just to put some numbers, it took us Yeah, it took us over 5 years to reach around 3 billion in Europe, while in the US it took us 3 months. And that's just kind of like the magnitude of the.
Folks, it is about to get crazy out there. Let's do a quick market check before we move on. Bitcoin holding 91,427 ETH, coming in at 3,028. XRP $2.19. Do not forget, tonight is your weekly and monthly close. Expect volatility. I would love to see a nice little teleport to the upside, especially with Bitcoin breaking out above 94,000. That is what I am going to be paying attention to, which moves us over to this. Scott Besnet isn't some random macro bro, folks. It's about to get spicy here. We're looking at the chief, and he was, excuse me, not now, but he was the chief investment officer for George Soros. When he hints at a political or economic catalyst this close to year end, you need to pay attention. If the White House drops a surprise involving early rate cuts, a policy shift, maybe liquidity injections, or any pro-risk asset, it would ignite every risk asset simultaneously. Listen to this.
Andrew, I'm still got one interview left, so I don't think it would be prudent to give any hints. And I think that there's very, very good chance that the president will make an announcement before Christmas, but it's his prerogative whether it's before the Christmas holidays in the New Year's. But things are moving along very well.
So now you're probably asking a question: why? Why would this ignite every risk asset out there? It's simple, because look, markets are positioned defensively into Q4, not bullishly. A positive shock would rip through equities, metals, and yes, even crypto. And projects that have real institutional rails lined up, like XRP, they would capture the first wave of the flow. We are lining up for a December that nobody is prepared for. Let's talk about today's video sponsor. It is I Trust Capital, your #1 platform to buy and hold crypto inside a tax advantage retirement account. If you want Bitcoin, XRP, or any other top asset in an IRA without paying capital gains every time you trade, hey, use my link below and get a free $100 for funding your account. Now let's jump back into this because we are not done. Bitcoin, it did a 7x the last time Fed ended QT. That was back in 2019. Balance sheets went to 3.2 trillion, and Bitcoin exploded from 3,800 to 29,000. This isn't speculation. This is history. When QT ends, liquidity returns. It is that simple. And when liquidity returns, Bitcoin moves first. And when Bitcoin moves first, everything else follows. Now, here's the critical thing. The Fed is ending QT again tomorrow, with balance sheets already stretched and liquidity needs rising. This is the same exact setup as 2019, except this time crypto has matured. ETFs now exist, and institutional rails are being built out in real time. This isn't a small shift. This is the macro fuse, which brings this. There's someone out there, I had to take a guess, it's either an institution or a bank, who's doing a lot of account set transactions on the XRP ledger. What does that mean? It's simple. A huge batch of wallets are being prepared. This is the tweet that ties everything together. Account set transactions, they're not retail. We talked about them in the first video of the day. Nobody at home is bulk configuring hundreds or even thousands of wallets. This is a custodian gearing up for a large inflow, an exchange preparing segregated accounts, or an institution who is onboarding behind the scenes. BitGo, they just did a wave of these months ago, right before a major custody expansion. But this spike, it's from a different player. When you see thousands of wallets being configured with multi-sig, key changes, domain flags, and institutional grade settings, that is preparation for scale. Something big is coming onto the XRP rails. Not later, folks. We're talking about now. And when you connect all these pieces, the ETF approval, your institutional demand, your political shock potential, the end of QT, and a mysterious wave of XRP Ledger institutional wallet setups, the message is loud and clear. Liquidity is repositioning itself before the public realizes what's happening. And XRP is sitting directly in the flow path. We've seen this story before back in 2019, but this time your rails are bigger, the players are bigger, and the stakes are far higher. Something massive is loading beneath the surface, and most people, they're not going to see it until it detonates. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on your way out. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and I'm going to see all y'all on the next one.